Hey everybody, and welcome to the Dante Bazzea Show. Today, we got a special guest, Mr. Francois Groenewald, who is a former MMA fighter, and if you don't know, MMA stands for Mixed Martial Arts. He's also a stuntman, so if you watch action movies, he might have been a stunt double in one of those movies. So yeah guys, we chat all about his MMA career and his stuntman work and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah guys, please welcome Francois Groenewald. We're rolling.
Alright, okay.
What's up?
How's it going, Dante?
Good, and you?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Yeah. You had a training session before we've done this?
Yeah, we just rolled a little bit of BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so it's always fun.
How was the session?
It's always good. I love training. SBG is like my favorite gym, so I always come here.
What makes you always want to come back here even though you live further away?
The family vibe in SBG is like just the best. I've been to so many different gyms. I've trained all over the world, and you have to find a gym where you feel at home and you have just connection with all the people that train there, and obviously the coach Steve. We get along so well. So I'll drive literally an hour to get here every other weekend or so.
That's cool. It's the same with skating. You go where your friends are.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to be.
You find your connection.
You find your connection. Like I've learned the hard way that you can learn from a lower level guy if you have a connection rather than a high level guy which you don't gel with. Then the connection has to be there for you to learn.
That is true. Well, I've got some questions in my hand.
Yeah, shoot away.
And a handy dandy questions book. I've done too many people.
Okay. How
did you get into jits?
Oh, okay. That was about 15 years ago. One of my friends actually started with a guy. He just came from Ireland. He was still a white belt himself, but he trained for about a year in Ireland with some of the Gracie guys. And like I was doing Aikido back then, I was doing all sorts of karate and stuff, and I was like, just tried it out and instantly hooked. And we actually started in his garage, just a couple of mats. That was way before YouTube or internet, so we were just rolling. We had like a little book called Passing the Guard, and we were learning from the book, me and him.
How old were you when you started?
I was about 21.
Fairly old.
Yeah, no, obviously South Africa was very late to the party when it comes to jiu-jitsu and MMA. Yeah, we still playing catch up, but back then there was no other gyms, especially I come from a really small town called Springs in Johannesburg, so there was nothing around.
Cool. Why do you like doing jits? Like why after all these years that you continue to just do it? This
is one of those sports where I'm a small guy, so where the size doesn't really matter. I roll against big guys all the time, and just having superior skill evens out that battlefield. You can, if you box against a big guy, he just has to land one big punch and you go down. But with jiu-jitsu, you won't land a lucky arm or a lucky triangle. So, and obviously your type of rolling depends on you. So I like to go nice and relaxed, flowing. Even now I'm taking jiu-jitsu and I'm using it in my career in the film and stunts. And it's really beautiful, fun, and you don't get hurt all the time.
What was the journey like getting your black belt? I'm correct if you got the black.
Yeah, no, I'm
you mastered all the colors.
Yeah, I've first degree black belt. Yes, it's been a long journey. A lot of my journey was obviously fighting professionally as a MMA fighter, so I did a lot of no-gi as well. So I had to keep up both sides of the gi and the no-gi. But yeah, it was I'm a competitive guy. I've always done a lot of competitions and stuff, and it took me just over 10 years of a lot of injuries. Ups and downs. Sometimes you come to the gym and it's just horrible. You just lose, and then next day you come and you're on that high, and you just really connected with yourself, and you're just rolling well. And then you get to black belt and you realize, oh well, I'm actually just now starting over again, and you revisit all the old techniques and you start learning what jiu-jitsu is really about.
Because even when you're at the top level, like you got your black belt, you can still go back and perfect those old moves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's all about the details with jiu-jitsu. You can always change your grip a little bit. You can get your movement slightly. Your timing becomes a big issue. You refine your game every single day on the mat.
Well, I find that when I skate, even though I'm doing the same trick all the time, sometimes I'm learning how to do it faster or higher.
Yeah.
You're always learning different ways to do it better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also your opponents, or especially if you skate, you're never skating on the exact same spot. So jiu-jitsu, every time you're rolling against a bigger guy, smaller guy, faster guy, stronger guy, so you have to use that same technique in slightly different variations, and that's why I call it human chess. You have to literally figure out your opponent every single time.
Keeps it exciting.
Very exciting.
So I was doing research for this podcast, and I was on your Instagram. In your bio, it says action jiu-jitsu. What exactly is that? Because I know that jiu-jitsu is already kind of you're already doing an action.
So action jiu-jitsu I created when I started, obviously, in the film industry, stunts. Now, a lot of the stuff, spoiler alert, we do in stunts is not really effective in real life scenarios. So what I did is I changed the style of my jiu-jitsu to be more flashy, show the beauty of it. All the techniques are legitimate techniques, it's just not high percentage. It's not the ones you're going to use or see in tournaments. If you look at a standard jiu-jitsu tournament, it's relatively boring because people take each other down and will hold each other down, and it's not as exciting. But if you also look to some of the videos I've done with some of the stunt guys, it's very flowy, beautiful, big throws, and then we never actually go for killer submissions and stuff. It was always an escape and just flowing through the motion, which if you look at movies like John Wick or Atomic Blonde and stuff, it's exactly what they're using in those big films.
Do you like doing the fast-paced jiu-jitsu or you prefer the normal stuff?
I like both, there's always this big question, gi or no gi, or fast or slow. You have to do both, or all of the above, sometimes I just want to come and be very technical. Sometimes I come and I just want to finish everyone in the gym, and then sometimes I come and allow them to take positions on me, and each day is different. You always have a different task in mind or a goal, but sometimes you also just want to have fun.
That is true. You always remember why you started, because it's fun.
And a lot of people lose that along the way and they get too serious about it. It's absolutely, for me, it's just hanging out with my friends and we kind of just playing around, and it's cool techniques we do, but at the end of the day it's still about that connection with people. Why
are you more into doing jiu? Because I know you're more of a jiu specialist, but I know you've done the MMA fight side of things, but what made you drawn more to jiu than like other parts?
For me, I think jiu-jitsu, I was not a very athletic guy growing up, so when I started jiu-jitsu, it just was so easy for me. Not easy, but it was more natural than, I always battled with boxing and with kickboxing and stuff. You eventually get it, but I was never as comfortable with the stand-up and stuff as I was with jiu-jitsu. I think my brain is just wired in a certain way that I just love that connection, and I've seen it with so many people. A lot of different people come to the gym, and you won't say they're fighters or anything, but with the jiu-jitsu they just stick to it and then they get really good. I don't see a lot with boxing. If you don't have coordination and you go to boxing, you're gonna have a bad day.
Have you ever done a boxing match?
I've not. I've done kickboxing before, but not a boxing match. I'm very keen to it, but when you fight professionally as an MMA fighter, you can't risk getting injured and maybe losing out on an MMA fight, which was my bread and butter,
How was doing the kickboxing matches? Did you like them or?
Kickboxing was a bit limited for me. It's got so many weird rule sets. You're not allowed to kick legs, and they've got a very different style. I enjoyed it. For me, it's all about movement. It's all about getting some competitive experience. You can't go wrong by doing it, but my personal preference is obviously MMA because it allows just about everything to go, and it's more realistic in a sense of street fighting or like a real life scenario.
Joe Rogan said this on his podcast. If a professional boxer was in a proper street fight, they wouldn't just use punches. Yeah,
look, to be honest, a boxer will obviously thrive if it's open space, but if it's a close, confined space, then the boxing and the kicking goes kind of out of the window. I would still bet on the boxer if it's a guy that doesn't know what he's doing, even if he's trying to kick or anything, but boxer will just move better. The timing, understanding of timing and speed can't compete with that.
True. Why did you want to become an MMA fighter? Was it always a dream of yours?
No, actually not. Growing up, I never saw myself as a fighter or anything, but I started jiu-jitsu, and about 2 years later I started competing in jiu-jitsu. We started finding tournaments, and then wanted to start up a gym of our own, me and my coach back then, Jurgen Peter. To promote it, there was an MMA show. I was like, I'll do it. Let's have an experience. I've always been up for crazy experiences, so we were watching UFC at the time, so I was like, I can probably do this. And my first fight, I just took the guy down, I checked him out, and it was such a great experience. I just kept on doing it, and to promote the gym as well, so it worked out pretty well.
Who are your favorite fighters, if you have any? What do you do?
Yeah, look, it ranged from year to year. When I grew up and like was just starting to get into MMA, obviously Shogun Mauricio Rua was one of my big time favorites. I was a big Anderson Silva fan. I still am actually. You know, like everyone will hate me for this, but Adesanya is now one of my favorites as well. GSP, you know, you can't not mention that guy. So yeah, there's so many nice up and coming fighters as well. It's a really exciting time.
What's cool about martial arts is 1 year there could be this guy who's the best, and then it could change quickly.
Yeah, and you see that with the styles as well. Like you'll see, like for a couple of years, it will be very wrestling but dominant, and then suddenly the stand-up guys will come and back and they'll dominate, and then you know they'll maybe be jiu-jitsu again. So it constantly changes.
You're a fan of Conor?
I'm a big fan of Conor actually. Like you know, obviously he's got a bit of smack talking and stuff, but you know people forget boringness doesn't sell fights. So you have to have a bit of a persona, and to be a fighter, you have to have a little bit of a mental instability. You know, some of them just have a big mental instability. But if you look at the way he fights, he's a genius. You know, the way he moves, precision, his timing, his mindset. You know, and he's got big power in his hands. So yeah, I'm a big fan of his.
I remember I was watching your fights. Since you guys are both at SBG, the commentators always used to say that you're fighting at the same gym as him.
Yeah. Actually, I did a couple of training sessions with Conor McGregor's coach, John Kavanagh, which is amazing. Yeah, he's a really good guy, and he showed me some really cool stuff. So, and that's the nice thing about SBG is also like it doesn't matter which side of the world you are. If you walk into an SBG gym, it's just about the same. All the guys are really incredible.
Have you had bad experiences with other like organizations going over the world and they're not allowing you to train there?
Not so much that, but usually if you come in from a different gym, there's always a bit of an ego problem, or they're a bit suspicious about why you're there. So sometimes they'll try and hurt you or just try roll hard. I've been to classes where no one wanted to roll me, just the new white belt. So if I had literally classes where I walk onto the mat and then the higher belt guys will take their gis off and walk off because they don't want to have that competition. So you get some weird gyms. You know, the ego is a big problem in any type of martial arts or sport.
When John Kavanagh was here, we went to Boulders Beach with him, and on the way back he was walking faster than me and my dad. And as we put up there, we just saw him there just standing there doing some shadow boxing.
Look, my girlfriend used to complain as well, because I would, especially in a fight camp, I would literally be putting something in the microwave and I would be shadow boxing, or as I walk through the house I would be moving, and you know, it becomes an obsession, it becomes a lifestyle. You know, like I don't get embarrassed about it, so sometimes I'll be driving and I'll just like think of a combo I saw, or you know, it's just all about repetition and in your mind.
When I'm in the car, I'm always looking out the window, seeing some new skate spots.
Exactly, you're always looking for stuff, and you like, sometimes when I look at people just playing around, even if they don't do martial arts, I'm just like, oh, arm drag, or you know, like go for that choke, or so it becomes a thing. You always see it everywhere you go.
At my mom's house, my brother's always doing moves on the dogs.
Yeah, one of my biggest complaints is usually a new guy starts at the gym, the girlfriend will come and complain and says, yeah, every night he comes home, he's like choking me on the couch, or you know, doing his moves on it, just practicing. So quite funny.
Well, what's it like having a girlfriend that also does jits?
You know, like for me, it is essential, because you know, for me, I would spend most of my day in the gym, and if you don't have a girlfriend that trains with you, then you never get to see her. You see that often with guys. As soon as they get a new girlfriend, they start disappearing, coming to less and less classes, because you know, if they come 3-4 times a week in the evening, girlfriend starts complaining. So for me, it was always, you have to train. And it's nice. It's also a great way to form a connection with your girlfriend and
have a hobby you can do together.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be hard or like aggressive or anything. You can really play a little bit, show some cool moves. And for girls, I think it's essential to have some sort of grappling, martial arts based style for self-defense and to be a little bit more comfortable.
That's true. I'm always a bit worried about like dating a girl who also skates.
Oh yeah?
Not because I'm worried about her being better than me or anything. The only thing I'm worried about is not having that thing I can do. Like, it's cool to, and it's important when you're in a relationship to have something you can do with her, like a hobby you can do together.
Yeah.
But also I like having that thing that I can do by myself and with my friends. So I kind of like don't want to like say, oh, I can't hang out today, I'm going to skate with my friends. Like, oh, I'll join. Like, you kind of want that time with just you and your mates. You don't just want her always to be tagging along.
Yeah, no, look, obviously that's where communication comes in between you and her.
Yeah,
for me, it's always been like, I always had my alone sessions as well. So But you have to early on make sure that she understands, like, look, this is my time, and other times it will be our time. So, you know, you don't, like I said, you don't want to be connected by the hip every day, but it's really nice to just have someone to skate with every single time you want to go skating. You know, sometimes the friends are busy, and when they get girlfriends, they're not available, so then you all go back to your girlfriend. And
I've seen people who bring their girlfriends along to the skate park, and then their girlfriend ends up being their filmer.
oh yeah, well that's the added bonus of having someone there. It's like, oh, quickly get this move, and you have someone to record.
Yep. During your fights, are you ever worried about hurting your opponent, where you just like blank out about that and just worry about winning?
For me personally, I've never really liked hurting people like badly. Obviously, that is part of the problem of the sport, is people do get injured. But I was usually very kind, like I would not just try and rip off the arms and stuff like that. It has happened, but we have hurt some ligaments and stuff. But mostly I would just go for a choke or something like that, where they can actually tap out. But there's one fight I did actually just want to hurt the guy, and that was with Leo Gloss. But we had like 2 years of big issues before the fight leading up to that. So that's actually my only ground and pound victory that I had in my MMA career.
Right, most of your wins are quite like...
All of the rest was submission now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What is it like, how do you handle losing weight for a fight? That probably sounds like the worst part about competing.
Yeah, no, I really hated cutting weight. Cutting weight takes away from all of the training actually. You know, in the last 2-3 weeks you're just focusing on dieting and stressing. I never cut a lot of weight. For me, I did one big cut once where I had to lose 8 kilos the day before, which, you know, it's stressful. It's not fun. You drain yourself and you risk hurting yourself. So I try to basically, mostly with diet, get to about within 2 or 3 kilograms, and then the last 2 I would just go a little bit of sauna, a little bit of hot baths, and then yeah, that was my weight cut. But most of the guys, they're cutting 10-12 kilos, and it's horrendous.
Yeah, if you ever lost a fight because you cut too much weight, like all that weight cut like drained you.
My first fight I went to flyweight, I definitely not blaming just the weight cut, but I was in Cape Town. I recently moved to Cape Town, and then I did the weight cut. It was a really grueling one. I just barely made it, and then it was also up in Joburg, so the altitude was a big problem. So the first round I fought really well. Like I was on top of the guy. I had his back. I was like really feeling good, and I was deciding. I took the foot off the gas a little bit just to preserve some energy, and then within the minute rest between the first and the second round, when I tried to get up off the chair, I was just completely drained and I was just out of it. And like I ended up losing that fight. I still fought the 2 extra rounds, but I had no energy. I couldn't take him down anymore, and it's a big problem. So yeah, that's why I don't like cutting weight.
It's very unhealthy for your body to lose all that weight.
Yeah,
at once.
If you do it wrong very badly, then obviously your moisture you start losing from your organs and then your brain. And a lot of guys get really bad brain injuries from getting punched in the head after a big weight cut. So it's not a healthy thing to do.
I wouldn't want to do that.
No, it's also, look, I would say everyone should actually try it just to test your mental game, because it's a real mental thing. You know, you have to eat really clean for 6 weeks. You have to that last weight cut day, you know, you're in the sauna, you're on the treadmill, you have your sweatsuit on, and it's a mental toughness that you can't explain to anyone. But yeah, for me, doing it over and over again is not a lot of fun.
What kind of stuff do you eat when you're trying to lose weight?
So you'll basically, just like protein meals with, you'll cut out most of the carbs, cut out most of the sugar. Like obviously I don't eat dairy or meat, so like for me, it wasn't too bad, but mostly you'll eat very plain stuff, no sauces, no nothing, you know, it's just same meal basically over and over again, lots of water. Yeah, so you stop going out, you don't go to restaurants, you just make your own meals, and that's what you do.
What made you want to become a vegan?
So being a personal trainer for many years, I've basically had to help people with their diets. So what I did is I tried mostly all the diets that I could find. So I did all the common ones, and then I kept vegan for last because I didn't want to do it. But as soon as I went vegan for a fight camp, my energy levels just spiked. I felt really good. I had a really good fight. I won. And then after the fight, I went back to eating meat. and immediately I felt horrible. So I just decided, man, like I really enjoyed feeling so energetic, and like my body just reacted very well to it. So I just stuck to it.
What I've noticed is every diet is different for every body type. Like vegan could work for you, but it might not work for me, but that's perfectly fine because of different body types.
Yeah, the problem is people have that whole 100% rule. Like you don't need to go fully committed into a diet. So like you said, you can thrive on veganism, but you maybe maybe 10% of it you'll have to still have your meat or whatever. But people go, you're either completely vegan or not. So I like when I go to India, sometimes I have a little bit of cheese, or because it's hard to explain to them there to not put it in the food, and then so you have to adapt a little bit. But like I try to keep it at least 90-95% as clean as possible. Like even like some of the diets I did before that, like it didn't act well. Like banting was one of my worst ones. I picked up like 4% body fat within 3 weeks. So yeah, definitely you have to play around and feel what works for you.
Well, now I'm doing the no carbs and gluten type of diet with my mom.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm also now like not doing any gluten at the moment. It makes me feel better as well, so it's good. Carb-wise, you'll have to eventually get a little bit of carbs in because you'll feel maybe your energy is lacking a bit.
I feel like I have more energy when I'm doing this diet.
You see, but that's the difference now. Like as long as you keep that feeling, and if you start feeling low, you can adjust a bit and make it up as you go. Yeah.
I wasn't happy when I first had to do it because it wasn't my choice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I went to my cardiologist and he said I need to eat better.
Okay.
Because it's better for my heart. And I didn't want to do it at first.
Yeah.
Because I was moaning about all this stuff. But now that I'm cutting out all these stuff, I'm like eating better and I feel better when I'm like skating and I'm just living life.
Yeah, but that's the thing with exercise and diet is at the beginning it's horrible. No one wants to do it, but then as you get into it and you start feeling better, then it's worth it, and then it's hard to stop then again. So it's just getting past that first 2-3 weeks and then getting the benefit.
I also learned of different stuff that I like eating because of it.
Yeah, now you have to be a little bit more creative and search a little bit online how you can make your food a little bit more interesting than just the whole plain. Because
for breakfast I used to just eat like a fried egg on toast.
Okay.
But now I'm having like boiled eggs with like slices of cucumber and then I'm adding like maybe some salami or like tomato. Like it's better stuff than just bread.
Yeah, no, it's like bread is like one of my worst nightmares because I love bread so much. It's like my ultimate cheat. I've also like you get obviously get gluten-free breads and stuff, but
it doesn't taste the same.
It doesn't taste the same, and like I don't have to avoid it completely. Otherwise, I get cravings, so I just cut it out completely.
I don't miss bread at all.
Ah, yeah, lucky.
I was gonna moan because I love eating burgers and I didn't want to take away the roll. So I did it, and now I prefer a bunless burger.
Yeah, no, you get used to it very quickly.
And you actually taste more of the meat when you don't have that roll.
Yeah, the nice thing about Cape Town is they're so, they make a plan for everyone. So, like that's why veganism is so easy this side. You get alternatives for every meal in this side. Like I went to Springs now last week, and there's nothing there. You battle to find any vegetarian type food, so it was a big mission for me to try and be creative. But that's why I love staying in Cape Town.
In Austria, I didn't eat salad when I was in Austria. I was like way younger. But my mom and my dad had the experience where my dad ordered a salad and they barely have any vegetables in the salad. It's basically just meat with some lettuce.
Oh wow!
And then they have like so much sauce over it.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, as well. Like here's the opposite. You'll get maybe like a little piece of meat and then it just leaves. So yeah, it's nice to experience other cultures and how they eat.
Yeah, that is true. I'm always up for a new experience. Yeah, it could be bad.
No, how do you know what you like if you don't actually try things? And like that's been the way I've been living my whole life. I've messed up so many times by trying things, but I've also learned and gained so much from that same mentality. You learn. Just takes the first class of jiu-jitsu and I stuck for life. And same with the film industry and everything else I do.
What made you want to post about your veganism on like Instagram and on your website and that kind of thing?
Well, the big problem is a lot of people have a very negative view about vegans, and for obvious reasons. You get the extremists that are like horrible, but with everything else, every type of religion or diet or any as the extremist, and no one likes that guy. So I just wanted to show you, like, first of all, you can be a healthy athlete and be a vegan at the same time. It doesn't have to be like a lot of people associate veganism with skinny, malnourished, sick people, and I'm definitely not that. I'm in a good shape. I've got good muscle size. I've actually picked up muscle since I went vegan. So I used to walk around at about 66, 67 kilos. I'm about 70 now. So you can be healthy. And obviously it's people need to kind of be aware of why I'm vegan. Like, everyone eats all these factory farmed animals and stuff, which is, like, I would say if you want to eat meat, make sure it's from a well sourced, like either hunted or range or something like that. But the factory farming, you're eating all that misery, that torture, the death, it can't be good for you. Like, also, people always say, oh, where are you getting your vitamins and nutrients in? But those type of animals that you're eating also, they're full of steroids, and they're pumped in full of all horrible things, and then you're eating that, and then everyone wants to know why society is so like sickly at the moment. It's just a better way to eat, but you can't force people to do it, so you have to kind of show them that it's actually a good thing.
So basically you're just trying to shine a good light on veganism. Yeah,
for sure. Like I said, I never try and convert people. I always just show them, and I always cook a meal for people if I have friends over and stuff, and I'll just like show them, like, look, it's actually really good food. You don't have to change your lifestyle that much. And like I said, I always tell people, don't go fully vegan. Just go 80%, or start by having maybe 2 meals, 2 evenings in a week without meat, and then see how you like it. And if you find some good alternatives, try it. If you experiment, then you might like it. But people get scared if I tell them go completely vegan. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna miss meat.
Slowly.
Gradually, and like I said, even if you get to 60, 70%, it'll make a big difference in the world if everyone does that.
Well, what I've noticed from following you on Instagram, most of your posts are just about your jits and your stunt work. But when you do post something about vegan, you don't like shove it in people's face like you're trying to advertise it. You're just like, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah, no, so like I said, if I think of what will work with me, if you try and shove something in my face, I will reject it, even if it's good for me. It's just a human nature. So like I said, if I had a friend the other day saying, like, he wants to have the amount of energy that I have, I'm like, and that's a good sign. Like, he sees what I'm eating, he sees the type of lifestyle I have, and you can maintain it. Like, I'm a really busy guy. Like, I train like most of the day if I'm not on set, so you have to have energy for that, and I'm look after my body. So it's a good advert for veganism.
Cool. What made you want to put veganism in your Instagram bio? Because I think, this is just my opinion, I think it's kind of pointless because it's not really like a cool, like it works for your body type, which is fine. But I don't really think it's like a cool thing, like you saying you do stunts and you do jits, like those are cool things, but then putting vegan is like, I just find it unnecessary. So what made you decide to put it in your Instagram bio is like, kind of like a hobby. I don't know, it's not a hobby, but it's kind of saying it's one of your hobbies.
It's part of my lifestyle, and it's part of my persona. It's in the beginning when I went vegan, I went quite really vegan. Like I said, I was like, you start doing research, you see how they treat the animals, you see the state of the world, and then so I went and I wanted to just share it. So for me, having it in my bio, people immediately get curious. Because like I said, if you say you're a vegan, people obviously immediately think stereotypes. So if you can see all the cool things I do on my Instagram, and you see vegan, and like I said, it's literally just one sentence that's there. So it's not a big thing. I'm not trying to preach. There's no links to anything. It's literally just saying I'm a vegan, and people get to a little bit of a sense of what I am and what I do. So it's for me, it's just harmless, but it's a good thing just for people to realize and see what it is.
True. It also makes people understand your page because they see like all the cool stuff that's like related to each other, and they see the one thing that's kind of like not related to the other things, and makes them more curious, like you said.
That's the thing. Like, if you look at the things I do, it's very random. A lot of it, like, I've got stunts, I've got fighting, I've got all these cool gags and stuff that I do, and then on the other side you've got me showing vegan stuff, and then like I do like some dancing, some ballet stuff, I did the pole dancing class the other day. And
how was that?
It's so hard, man. Like, I've got mad respect for those girls. They're so strong, and like I was bruised all over the place, but for me it's about experiencing life, and like everyone judges everything, so I just try and do it, and like if I enjoy it, I'll stick to it. there's no rules to this life. You have to kind of make your own path and stop worrying about what people think all the time.
That is true. If you worry too much, you're not going to actually just do the things you want to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like that's why I said, like I'm doing everything I can possibly, and like you said, a lot of the things I do I don't like, and then I don't do it anymore. But you often find something that you really love, and that's worth it for me.
What was the feeling like getting your first ever check from fighting?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. You know, I put so much work in, and you know, for the first, I think my first 9 fights was amateur. So you're basically doing all that work, risking all that injury, and you're not getting paid. So you know, my first fight, it was like it was for Fight Force. So back in the day when that was still a thing, so it was really cool. But you know, it was so long ago. We didn't have a test to go pro. You know, like. One day the promoter was like, hey, you've done enough fights, you want to go pro. So it was like a really cool feeling, and you go and you fight and you get paid. It wasn't a lot of money, but you know, it was a good start, and then yeah, just paved the way for the next basically 7 years of fighting.
How much money was the first check, if you can remember?
I've got 5,000 rand for my first fight.
Not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but that time it was many years ago, so it was, for me, it was from having nothing to that was a good feeling.
Why did you want to bet 1,000 rand on your own fight? Was it 1,000? Could you remember you betted it?
It was like 1,000, I think. I can't remember. So what they did is that it was a promotional for the betting company that was at EFC at the time. So they actually gave me the cash to do a bet.
So you never lost any of your own money?
No, I didn't release my own money. Like I'm not a big better, but I thought like, you know, you'll see a lot of my posts and stuff, the things I do is based off humor. So I always try and make it funny and try and make it like, you know, like you'll even see when I'm in the cage, I'm always smiling, I'm making jokes. It's not about being all serious. And that's the same thing about the veganism. I want to show that fighting can be actually cool guys that are having fun. It doesn't have to be, oh, this guy's trying to kill this guy. When they gave me the opportunity to bet, we made a little video and I was like, yeah, I'll bet on myself. And like I always bet on myself. Like I never go into a fight thinking I'm going to lose. Obviously you do lose fights, but mentality should always be, no matter who you're fighting, you should go in with the idea that you're going to try and win, you know?
It's cool that you're not taking everything too seriously.
Yeah, man, like, you
It's
know,
fun.
yeah, maybe I would have done a lot better in my career if I took it a lot more serious, but you know, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. Me, fighting was never a thing about, oh, I want to get rich and famous or anything. It's just, I enjoy the challenge, I enjoy putting myself out there, and you know, you're risking basically embarrassment in front of millions of people at EFC. And I did actually get like knocked out once, so it's that mental growth that you get from moving on from that and learning about yourself. You know, you learn a lot about yourself, putting yourself out there. And like I said, if I didn't do it with humor, I probably would have stopped way sooner.
How do you get in the mindset for one of your fights?
Personally, like for me, preparation is the key. So if you do your work, then most of the mind will follow, you know. But preparation, for me, I do a lot of yoga, meditation, and you have to calm yourself down a little bit. And then it's just a little bit of self-belief. That's the trick. You know, you have to believe in yourself, otherwise you're going to be starting to doubt yourself. And also stay off social media, because if you start looking at what your opponent is doing instead of focusing on what you are doing, you're going to lose. Yeah, it gets in your head, and you see he knocked out three, 4 of his last opponents, and you know, if that starts creeping into your mindset, you start losing the plot, and that's not a good idea.
How do you handle with the big crowds? Because you've done like those big fights in like Grand West and those kind of big places. How do you blank out the crowd, like people screaming and that kind of?
You know what, to be honest, like it takes a long time to get an experience needed for that, but once you're in the cage and they shut that door, you know, like I think your brain has like a protection thing where it just kind of focuses on what happens now. Like you'll even battle to remember most of the fight afterwards, because I think you're so concentrating on what's happening that your memory doesn't even like activate properly. So once you're in there, it's funny, like with Steve in my corner, I can always hear him, and I can hear my mom in the crowd always. But the rest of the crowd, you know, you just kind of black out, and then you're just focusing. You know, it's a stressful situation. Like you've got literally a guy on the other side coming to try and take your head off. So it's actually very natural. But a lot of other guys struggle with that. So it is a bit. I'm a bit lucky in that sense, where I didn't ever get into a panic situation or anything.
On Facebook, you know the memories thing? So on Facebook it was like, last week, they showed me the post that I posted of the first time I saw an MMA fight live, which is one of your fights at Grand West.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
It was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Time has flown, eh?
Yeah.
I think I moved to Cape Town about 6 years ago. So yeah, it was.
That was your first. The one I saw was your first fight in Cape Town.
Okay. In Cape Town, yeah. Like I think the first fight I fought with SBG was we went actually to Joburg.
And my dad's just stressed that night.
Yeah.
His first time doing it solo because he's been in corners with John, but he didn't have to do most of the work.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like he didn't really have his own fighters until I kind of convinced him to be in my corner. And like I said, it's been a really cool journey since then.
So an empire of SBG fighters.
Yeah, like now we've got so many nice guys here and like competitive, and like I would say definitely one of the best competitive teams in the country. So it's been a really cool for both of us to just work together.
I said this to my dad yesterday, that I would make a cool documentary, a documentary of the history of MMA fights at SBG Cape Town. So you can start it when he does the first cornering with John Kavanagh, and then it shows your fights, Gary's and all that kind of stuff, and then you ended it with Lewis winning his
belt. Yeah, because now that's the thing, yeah, I mean, the new guys are coming in, so, and it's not over yet, so it's pretty cool and exciting to see what's gonna, like obviously this year was a bit of a write-off, but I think next year will be a really good year for SBG.
Hell yeah. What's it like training for your fights? Do you train differently because you're doing a fight?
Yeah, like first of all I have to listen to my body, so because you kind of know how to fight by the time you're pro, so a lot of it is about conditioning and getting your rounds in and just getting comfortable, like working so hard. A lot of times I'll push hard and then you feel your body and you kind of have to take the brakes off. I'm not a big, like some of the guys spar really hard during fight camp. We'll have maybe a couple of hard sessions, but keep it nice and light. For me, it's about the movement, about just being fit. Yeah, and just getting your mindset ready. Otherwise, you break your body down before the fight, and by the time it's fight night, you are so broken that you can't perform as well as you should.
I'm guessing you never train the morning before the fight.
What I'll do is I'll do light movement. So movement is like a really good way to not only loosen up the body, but it's also to calm the mind. So I'll do some shadow boxing and just kind of move around a bit. I'll do a bit of a stretch. Like it's a very, not lonely, but it's a very solo type of ritual that most fighters have the day of the fight. You don't want to be talking to a lot of people. You stay off social media. Like it's just get your head right and
for your rest.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need to rest up and make sure you are ready for the fight.
Why did you choose to retire from fighting?
Mainly because of work. Obviously, becoming like a stunt performer and in the film industry, so it's very difficult to find time to do both. Sometimes I'll be on set for 3-4 weeks in a row, or away jobs. Then you don't get time to practice or to train as well as you should. So I kind of I had to decide which one is more worth it. Obviously the stunts have been paying better and I can do that for a lot longer. MMA became really competitive, so if I don't put a proper training camp in, you're going to get beaten and you're going to lose badly. So I always told myself, as soon as I get to a point where I feel like I can't win a fight anymore, like if I had lost the fight and I don't think that I would have been able to beat that guy if I had a good camp, then I will retire. So that's kind of where I am at the moment.
Do you think you ever come back for one more fight?
I've been planning or thinking about it. I would definitely like to do another fight. I got an offer for a fight in December last year, and that was just after knee surgery, so I kind of turned it down. But and then this year was a bit of a write-off with no fighting happening at the moment, so I'll definitely consider it next year. I do miss it. It's one of my most favorite memories is doing like nice combatives. So I'll definitely look into doing one more.
Hey, if Mike Tyson can return, you can.
Yeah, I'm still young enough. The body is kind of broken, but I got my knee fixed and I'm doing a lot of like rehab type training. So my body's actually feeling a lot better than it did maybe 5 years ago. So I can definitely make a nice comeback.
Are you going to watch Mike Tyson's?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's going to be so exciting. I actually met Roy. He was in Cape Town maybe like 2 years ago. And I met him. He was at the boxing club where I was coaching, and he's such a nice guy. And he's still he was hitting the bag, and I was like, wow, you still got it. And I was very excited to see because it's going to be a good fight.
Sweet. I've liked the podcast that Mike Tyson's done with Joe.
Oh yeah, he's always a very entertaining guy. He smokes a lot of weed, and he's just a funny guy.
He owns one of the biggest weed farms in the world.
Yeah, and I was listening to how much him and his friends are smoking every month, and I'm like, wow, that's insane.
Have you ever smoked weed?
Yeah, I'm do every now and again. I'm definitely helps relax, and I like to do it at evenings before I sleep. Especially if you're training hard, your body's always some kind of pain, and I don't like taking a lot of pain medication or any type of medication, to be honest. So it's a nice way to just relax, and but obviously within the right time and the right place.
Do you smoke proper weed or you do CBD?
Like I've got a bit of a mixture of both. Like so I've got the CBD oil drops, and then like I'll do smoke a little bit of THC. You know, you have to get some sativa in there.
Well, smoking weed is much healthier than proper cigarettes.
Yeah, look, I don't enjoy the smoking effect. Actually, sometimes I'll get some edibles as well. Like I said, the drops are nice, but like I don't smoke a lot. Like I'll have maybe a little bit 3-4 times a week at night once. You know, it's not some people that just do it all day long, which is like I can't focus like that.
Out of all the fighters that I know, you've had my favorite walkout song.
Oh yeah, which one is that?
Bad to the Bone.
Oh yeah, that's I've actually had that song for probably most of my UFC career. Before that, I had Firefly from Ramstein, and then UFC became a bit weird about some of the songs, so I just picked that one and I stuck with that for probably my last 10 fights. I had that one.
Is it one of your favorite songs?
Yeah, and it also kind of set the mood for me and for the crowd. You know, like once you have the same song over and over again, people start recognizing that.
Kind of your theme song.
And it's also not as aggressive, and like I said, I like the fun nature of it. Some people come out with the most aggressive song they can probably think about, and then, you know, like I don't want to be in that mind frame. I want to be in a relaxed, calm state. You know, if I'm angry and hyped up, you know, you're not going to perform as well as you should.
True. I've seen some fighters who walk out to like pop songs, and it just sounds weird.
Yeah, like some of them try to be too funny, and then like I don't know, it just might backfire on them. I remember one of the UFC fighters, Nathan Ralphs, came out to, what is it, Barbie Girl or whatever. It was like that ninja song from The Antwoord. That's the one. So he came out with that, and it was like quite funny at the time. But when he lost the fight, so you know, I mean, it's not actually good.
The music producer, he's like a beat maker. I use most of his songs in my skate videos, like his beats. He does some of the beats for The Antwoord.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I actually worked on a movie set with The Antwoord once.
How was it?
It was interesting. They're a very strange bunch of people. Obviously, they bring all that whole crew with to set, and very demanding. But you know, it was definitely a good experience to see how they work.
My mom doesn't like The Antwoord.
Yeah, look, everyone has their own style. Like The Antwoord is big, quite big overseas actually. So they mind.
True. My dad's looking at us through the window.
Okay.
He keeps saying he wants to come on here and let him get a black bar. I'm like, well, I got one now.
Yeah, well, you can actually interview him next then.
Doing family is a bit weird.
Yeah, I guess it is. I guess.
I don't know, it just doesn't have. It just feels a bit weird. I can't really explain it.
Yeah, no, it's strange. Like they don't always understand what we do anyway, so it's quite interesting. But it's just something that you kind of have to overcome, I guess, in the future. The more you do this, the more comfortable you'll get with just about anyone coming on board.
True. Because my first podcast, I've listened back to them. I was the worst person having a conversation. I usually just ask the question, get an answer, go to the next one. But now I'm actually asking and having a conversation.
Yeah, like I believe it. Everyone starts off like that. It's just getting used to having a conversation and just making it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
That's where the fun comes. But like the more you do it, I mean, then you'll eventually start just not even needing to go to your notes and just kind of, you know, feed off each other.
True. It'll be the worst part because I didn't write down questions. I need at least to know where I'm going because I think you get lost in what you're saying. Yeah,
but that's the thing is like it's actually sometimes so nice to actually just go into that conversation and like before you know it you're in a completely different world. But you know that's where the entertainment is in.
Well, Joe Rogan barely plans questions.
No, that's the thing. It's like he's just so good at just listening and like replying, and then you kind of start just forming that connection. And
I don't even think he researches his guests.
I think maybe some of the really high profile ones like the scientists and stuff, you kind of will just get a little bit of an idea of them. But he's so good at reading people and allowing the person that he's interviewing to kind of take the lead, which is cool because you know you don't want to just be talking and then the guest not actually say what he wants to say.
True. He had Tony Hawk on his show, and I thought that was going to be a bit of a not that good of an episode because Joe doesn't know much about skating.
Yeah.
But he actually asked questions that not even the skateboarding podcast and nightclub I listened to asked Tony Hawk. Like he asked questions that like not like questions that skaters wouldn't ask, but also got good answers. Like I learned stuff about Tony that I never knew, like how he turned pro and like what it was like actually being the most famous skater.
Well, that's the thing about not knowing about the field is you come from a totally unique, viewpoint.
Yeah.
So that's why I love meeting different people from different areas. You get to kind of then ask them the questions, like you said, that normally their friends don't ask, or people that in the same industry don't ask.
Do you think MMA classifies as an extreme sport?
Yeah, of course, it's definitely an extreme sport. Just the fact that we're kind of using one person's body to basically damage the other person's body. It's a lot of things can go wrong, obviously. Both are very trained athletes most of the time, so it shouldn't go wrong a lot. But even like if I broke my hand by punching someone, stuff like that happens. The fact that we're doing it on live TV in front of millions of people, that adds a different factor into it as well. So yeah, it's a pretty extreme sport.
I do agree with you that MMA is more in the extreme sports category, but do you think it's one of the most dangerous sports?
No, definitely not one. Like the risk of injury is quite big. You get like broken bones, you get like ligaments, but the risk of death is not, for me, that high. Like there's been a few cases, obviously, but I would say the average guy that are at risk for dying is one that's not taking care of themselves. The ones that sparring hard, getting a lot of repeated hits to the head, and then they go fight and get knocked out again. But overall, the referee will step in. We've got a referee. We've got a set of rules to kind of prevent that type of death. It's not like motocross where you're ramping 20 meters high, and then if something goes wrong, you're coming down with a couple of 100 kilos of metal on top of you. So the risk of death and permanent injury is a lot less for MMA than I would say a lot of the other extreme ones.
That is true. I wouldn't put MMA in the X Games, even though they can. They could. It doesn't fit in there because how X Games structures their events is like in the festival style. So like there'll be street skating, then they go to big air vert skating, then it's motocross, then it's BMX. Like they go kind of in a festival style, but how the UFC does it, like you go from one fight to the next fight.
Yeah.
It fits better in that kind of style event.
Yeah, look, like I would say actually MMA they should make a martial arts, like a kind of Olympics, but like for martial arts, just to have all the different martial arts to do their thing, kind of like the X Games, and that's a lot better than just at this moment you've got in the Olympics you've got judo, you've got wrestling, but you don't have MMA, you don't have jiu-jitsu. Also, you don't really want it in the Olympics because then it'll be controlled by a very few weird people that you don't want to interfere into the sport. So rather than just give them their own category and they can actually just do their own thing.
Skateboarding is in the Olympics now.
Is it in the Olympics?
Yeah, so surfing.
Okay.
And rock climbing.
Yes, it's good, but it's also it's good for promotion and shedding some light on those sports. But it will definitely change the sport by creating a bunch of rules, and a bunch of people will try and interfere and change it according to what they believe the sport is. I mean, skating is just about the same as like surfing and like parkour, all that stuff. It's about expression, about being free. It's not about conforming about these rules and you have to have this type of skateboard, and you have to wear this exact, so ideally you don't want a bunch of people that don't skate to have a lot of say over the skating industry.
Sure. Well, Tony Hawk, he said this on his Joe Rogan episode, that he is going to be a commentator on the X Games because his job is to try and explain skating to the non-skate viewer.
Yeah, and he's been doing it for so many years. I remember one of my first PlayStation games was the Tony Hawk skateboarding game, and
I had those.
I mean, he has been just for the last 15 years or even more. Like I can't remember anyone who has a bigger influence in the skating industry than him. So yeah, he's the ideal guy to just go and commentate. And
this year they remastered the first and second Tony Hawk game.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I haven't played the games in a long time, but it should be actually quite interesting to just revisit that and see what it's about.
I don't mind skating in the Olympics. It's good for the sport. Good and it's not good at the same time.
Yeah,
it has its benefits and it has its negatives.
Really interesting to see what they do. Yeah, like what the structure will be and how are they going to judge what type of events and stuff. So,
well, they were going to originally only have vert skating because that's more of a spectator sport. But then lots of skaters were like saying no, and people even made petitions to not have it. And even Tony Hawk, who's a vert skater, said they shouldn't have vert skating because not everyone in the world has access to a vert ramp. Like anyone can go street skating.
Mm.
So what they're doing is they're only going to have street skating, and then they have park skating, which is just like ball skating.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, it will be really interesting to see if we actually have a team that goes to the Olympics for skating.
I interviewed a guy named Jean-Marc. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He's from Cape Town and he's competing to go to the Olympics. He's been going to all the qualifier competitions.
Alright, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we don't really have a team because only 2 guys from South Africa have actually gone to this qualifying. Because I don't know, because I think you need a team to go. But he said he's going, so I don't really know what's happening.
It might be an individual. Who knows? Like I said, I haven't actually seen any of the posts from the Olympics about the skating, so it's actually news to me.
Well, they're doing it in Japan.
Is it for which year is this now?
It's happening next year.
Next year. It was supposed to be this year, right?
Yes. But apparently there's going to be no crowd.
How weird is this?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you're watching it, the UFCs and stuff. There's
I've
no
watched
one there.
They can
So
get their
quiet.
leg kicks.
Everything is so quiet.
The UFC's fine how that one's not that weird, but other sports like the Olympics will be weird.
Yeah, no, I actually watched, my dad likes the WWE, so he was watching it, and what they do is they have screens all over the place, and then the people that log in live, you can see their faces, so it's like there's a crowd, but it's just people.
That's weirder than having no crowd.
It's so weird, and people are still like going crazy and cheering, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is very interesting.
Apparently they're going to have like sound, like applause buttons underneath the seats.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like that's weirder than just having no one.
Yeah, like the soccer I've been watching with my son. They actually have the noise the whole time. Like someone's controlling that, and if they get close to the goal, they get harder, louder, and then obviously if there's a goal and they have a button they push, it makes it like cheering.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's so strange.
How did you get into doing stunts and being a stuntman?
So what happened is I moved to Cape Town and I started coaching at a gym. A local gym, and then one of my students that walked in his name's Grant Powell. He's a fight choreographer, and I was like very intrigued, and then just by chance he really loved the jiu-jitsu. He actually did a movie with Randy Couture which told him to do jiu-jitsu, so that's why he started jiu-jitsu. So I trained him a little bit, and then he said there's basically a casting for a job. It was a sword fighting job. I have no sword fighting skills, but I went to it, and like it was so much fun. You needed to be like a little kid, just running around with a sword and yelling and cutting people up. And yeah, ever since then I just stuck to it. It was just like very lucky for me to have been teaching Grant Powell, and still to this day you'll see all my videos of jiu-jitsu. It's me and him, and yeah, he's become one of my best friends.
Sick. My dad mentioned Grant Powell yesterday. He said I should interview him.
That's like, you will have a really good time with him. He's like the funniest guy. Comes obviously from the Cape Flats, so he's like a really good character. He was in the circus, kind of like, he was doing all those live shows there at Tango Junction, the stunt shows and stuff like that. He was a clown. He's such a character.
My dad said he worked with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he worked, like I also worked with Tom Cruise. We did The Mummy together.
How was it?
It was cool, man. Tom is actually a really nice guy. He was, you know, like some of the actors are really bad, but he was very friendly. He was greeting everyone, you know, no big ego or anything like that, so which is cool.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he was actually very comical, but there was like a scene where we had to shoot at him, and then some of the guys didn't realize they had to shoot at him, so he was like, hey, I'm Tom, guys, you have to shoot me. So he was very funny about it, and like I said, relaxed, and not, you know, and he's one of the biggest stars you can possibly work with, so.
Like one of the most famous actors
Most
in the world.
famous, yeah. So if he can be friendly, then I don't understand why some of these up and coming guys, some of them just go crazy and then throw the ego trip.
Him and Elon Musk are planning to film a movie in proper outer space.
I heard about that, and how insane would that be if you go actually to space to film? It's a bit nuts just to go do a movie there, but like, I mean, what an experience. Like, if you think about Tom Cruise, he's basically done everything else.
Yeah.
He's flown jets, he's done boats, like there's nothing left for him to do, so that does make sense.
Yeah. What other actors have you worked with?
Most of the famous ones, recently did a movie with Vin Diesel.
I like him in Fast and Furious.
We did Bloodshot with him, so that was pretty cool. I recently worked with Mila Jovovich from Resident
I don't
Evil.
know who that is.
If you've ever watched Resident Evil, she is the lead girl in that.
Okay.
She was very nice. Then Tom Felton, he's like the Harry Potter guy, the kid with the blonde hair. I was doubling him. So yeah, you get to, like, for Cape Town, we actually get quite a lot of famous people coming through here.
Do they come here or do you fly to them?
No, they come here. Cape Town is a really good spot for filming, so we get a lot of
Cheap.
international. It's cheaper, and location-wise, if you think about it, we've got everything. We've got mountains, ocean, and then obviously we've got a really talented crew this side. So from the cameramen, grips, everything, we've got really talented people. So
cool. It's
nice to come here.
Who's your favorite actor?
Favorite actor is a very tricky one. Like I said, because I work now with Mila so intensely, it was really nice to work with her as an actress. John Wick, obviously, so Keanu Reeves. So that's one of my favorite guys. Like the fact that he's putting in so much effort, where a lot of the actors they don't do any of their own stunts, they don't do any of the work to try and look a little bit better. So yeah, he's good. Even Tom Cruise, like I said, he was like a pleasure to work with. So yeah, there's a couple of good guys out there.
Keanu Reeves is known as one of the nicest people in Hollywood.
I would love to work with him. I obviously haven't, but he seems like just a great guy. If you think about all the type of movies he's doing and the type of training, like if you can put yourself in a position where you actually go and train, and he does jiu-jitsu now, he does judo, he goes and shoots his own guns. So those are the type of people that you want to work with.
There's a story of him where he just tags a lift with this random family.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How weird must it be if you pick up Keanu Reeves next to the road?
Well, he's one of the few celebrities that doesn't even use social media.
I actually saw a post of him where he's actually riding just a normal bus, or it was a train or something like that, and he was just standing randomly there. You know, that guy's so rich, he doesn't need to do it, but he's still down to earth enough.
He probably just wants to have a normal life.
Probably, or like, you know, I don't think if he's on the subway he's going to have a normal life, but yeah, it's nice at least to see that he's not just excluding himself from society.
One of my favorite actors is Shia LaBeouf. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, isn't he the guy from like
Transformers?
Yes.
He was in Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
He was Constantine's.
He's actually done some really cool stuff. I actually saw some of his other work as well.
I recently watched a movie with him called Disturbia.
Disturbia, yeah, it's a very good one. Yeah, I enjoyed him.
He's cool.
Yeah, he just went a little bit off the railings lately. I haven't seen him in anything.
He's done recent stuff.
Does it as you know?
Yeah, he did a movie that I liked called Peanut Butter Falcon, but about a kid with Down syndrome.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Okay, I'll check that out.
And he did a movie about his life called Honey Boy.
Okay.
Which he wrote when he was in rehab.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, I remember he went into rehab and stuff, but I saw actually, now that you mentioned that the autistic kid actually kind of helped him through it or something like that. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
He is cool. I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah, like imagine if you can actually get some of those guys here.
And then I'll blow up. Watch out, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, coming for you.
What's it like being a stunt double for someone?
It can be very tricky at times. I think like if you have enough time with the actor, it's very nice. You can form a nice connection, you can train together, and that's where you kind of learn how to mimic him. Because kind of what I need to do is I need to try and be as close to him as possible. Like I must try and walk the way he walks, all those little things that you try and pick up. But then other times you don't get that time with the actor, so you literally just have one maybe meeting with him, and it can be a little bit intimidating for them because they feel I'm there to take their job, or because they're not good enough to do hard stuff. But for me, I'm there to protect or make sure they don't get injured. Like if it's a bad stunt where there's a risk of injury, if I get hurt, they make a phone call and they get someone else within an hour. If the main actor gets hurt, that basically means the whole film stops. So I've had really good experiences with actors where you kind of become friends with them and they hang out with you and they respect you, but I've had ones that don't want to even talk to you, they don't want to acknowledge you, so you kind of just, you have to kind of be very talkative. You're like, oh sorry, you know, you start telling them how good they are, and you like bring them their pads and stuff. It can be frustrating. Like Tom Felton was one of the coolest guys. Like after we rap every day, the makeup chair, when they take everything off, he'll bring me a beer and he'll bring his guitar and he'll just like chat to me, which is really nice. Where some of the other guys, like they don't even acknowledge him.
Do you ever like spend a day with them before filming just to get the gist of how they act?
Sometimes, for sure. Like if time allows it, then. But you know, when they get here, usually they're in such a big. They have such a big schedule that they have to go photo, they have to go get their costume fitting, and you don't always get that time with them. If you do get like an hour or two of them, it's really cool. Then you get to like just get a bit of a sense of them and relax them that you're actually there to just help them, and it becomes easier to do your job.
Cool. With Bloodshot, were you Vin Diesel stunt double or were you someone else?
No, I was just a couple of the characters that actually gets killed by Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel is not the tallest guy, but he's quite stocky, so I'm a bit small for that. So my friend actually was one of his stunt doubles, and then they liked him so much they actually took him for the next Fast and Furious as well. So he went to the UK to film the next Fast and Furious that's coming out, I think, next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I did actually hang out with Vin a little bit.
Is he a cool guy?
Yeah, like I said, he's a bit very actor. You know, he gets a little bit ahead of himself, and he'll sometimes pitch late for set. But at the end of the day, it was fun to work with. You know, it's always nice to see how these guys operate and get killed by them in the film, at least.
Are you a fan of Fast and Furious?
Yeah, no, I've watched them all basically. So it's really interesting how they actually kept the series alive. Who doesn't like fast cars and like some crazy action? The stunt guy in me loves all the gags they're doing, car flips and stuff like that.
Apparently for the next one they're going to put them in space.
What's it now if everyone wanting to go to space? I don't know, but it will make things a lot trickier, for sure.
I want to keep it fresh.
Yeah, like I said, there's not a lot of other things they can do, especially with cars and space. I don't know how that's going to work.
They might be flying jets or
yeah. But it's all about cars, so you can't go now, otherwise they can go to boats as well, but...
They've had bikes.
Oh, they had bikes, yeah.
The Rock's character rides a bike. Have you seen Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That was good. What's it like organising a stunt? What's the organising process?
Okay, depending on the size of the stunt, so we'll always have a stunt coordinator, which is kind of the guy who sets everything up. And then, yeah, basically we'll do a lot of risk assessment. Everything, like stunts are not just about going head first and just falling or whatever the case is. We'll do a risk assessment, make sure we understand everything that can go wrong or what is the potential hazards. Then we'll have a rehearsal day where we first set up the stunt and we'll ease into it. So you won't go full out. Like let's say it's a high fall of like 10 meters. You'll maybe just start with a 2 meter and just kind of work your way up until you're comfortable without all the guns and stuff, and then as you feel comfortable, then you'll start adding all those pieces in, or if there's a little fight scene, you'll add that in last, but first you'll gradually build up, because you know, at the end of the day, you're going to probably do some of the gags we do 10, 12 times, takes at least, so it's cool if you can fall hard once, but try falling exactly the same way 10 times in a row. You know, you don't want to do it as safe as possible, so that you can do it 10 times, rather than just the first time you break yourself and then you're unable to complete the stunt. You know, so many things can go wrong. Like I do the perfect stunt, but somewhere in the background, someone is doing something silly, then I have to redo it. Or the actor messes up the line, or you know, it's.
Or you mess with the filming.
Yeah, like little things can happen, and then so that's why we do it many times. Sometimes too many times, but you know, it's still quite fun and a good process to actually experience.
What was it like doing the full body burn?
Nah, that is very cool. My first job I worked on, one of the guys did a full body burn, and when I saw that I was just like, I need to do this. So I first did a workshop where it was very safe, very contained, and we went through the process and I did my full body burn, which was interesting, but like I said, when you're doing it as a workshop, it's not the same effect. And immediately after that I started messaging all the coordinators like, okay, I've done this now and I'd really like to do a burn. And it just so happened that the season finale of the series I was working on had 5 people burning at the same time. So luckily I got the call for that, and it was so stressful because with burning you're quite protected, because you know, the whole thing is just to not get burned, but the risk is if you breathe in the fire or the steam or the hot smoke, you know, that's kind of, you can burn your lungs. So you have to always be like concentrating on where you're breathing and where the fire is. But once you get the hang of it, it's no better feeling. I've done about 20 burns already, so it's definitely one of my favourite stunts to perform.
Watching that stunt live was cool.
Oh yeah, the record burns.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the Guinness Book of Records. It was a bit of a time where it was a bit quiet, and one of the special effects guys said he wanted to do something just big to kind of boost his reputation and make something happen for the stunt guys. So yeah, we got, I think, 32 people in to burn at the exact same time when we did it for 35 seconds. So that's a new world record. It was pretty interesting. it was a big thing to actually set up all those people burning at the same time.
Is that stunt in the Guinness Book of Records?
Yeah, that's in the Guinness Book of World Records. The previous one was, I think it was 24 people doing it for, I think, 30 seconds, so we kind of beat it by quite a bit.
You're the second world record holder to be on my podcast.
Oh really? Who was the first?
That guy I mentioned earlier, Jean-Marc.
Oh, okay.
He has the world record for doing the most nollie heel flips in 1 minute.
Oh wow. See, it's actually such a hassle to get a Guinness Book of World Record because they've got all these requirements and it's like fees you have to pay, and so it's not just straightforward, you just film it and they accept it. So it was a bit of a mission to get them on board.
I might be wrong about this. Weren't you a stunt double in Black Sails?
Yeah, you are definitely wrong about this. I missed out on Black Sails. I was busy on a different production when the final season was here in South Africa, and I was almost on it, and then it just never worked out, unfortunately. But obviously most of my friends were all on Black Sails from season 1.
My dad trained one of the actors in that movie.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like a lot of them do come for training. I've trained a lot of the actors myself as well. It's just not all of them kind of want to come train.
Fair enough. What are your worst injuries from maybe MMA or from stunts?
I haven't actually gotten big injuries from stunts, to be honest. From MMA, obviously, I broke my hand. I had surgery for that. I tore my ACL, not in a fight, but for training for a fight. I dislocated my left elbow while training for a fight as well. So I think the only injury I had in a fight was my hand that I broke. So I had to get multiple surgeries already. Broken my nose like multiple times that I can count.
You have more injuries than me.
Yeah, now that's what I said, my body is taking its toll, so that's why I've eased off of the fighting and do more stunts, and even the rigging side of the film industry is kind of where I'm leaning towards. Eventually my body won't be able to do all of those things anymore.
The only injury I've had is I sprained my ankle.
Okay, well that's lucky.
And I broke my leg when I was a baby because I fell off a counter.
Sure, okay, that's bad parenting. I'll have to talk to your dad about that.
I don't think my dad was in the room, I think my mom.
Okay, well, oops. Yeah, luckily you can't remember that when you're so small.
I just remember from pictures.
Oh really? Okay.
What's the next one? I think I'm done with all my questions.
Oh wow, okay. How long have you been doing this podcast now?
I started January.
Okay, so you're still enjoying it?
Yeah, it's cool. The only part I don't like is organising guests.
Yeah, it's always hard to ask people.
I don't mind.
We've actually tried for 3 weeks now, and it's just time-wise it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, at least we do it now.
What made you want to do a podcast though?
Well, I've always done the YouTube stuff, so I started with skate videos, then I did vlogging, and then I went to movie reviewing, and I don't know, I like having conversations in normal life. It's cool to just sit down and chat with people. And then my dad introduced me to Joe Rogan's podcast, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and then I listened to it, and then I discovered a podcast called The 9 Club, which is a skateboarding podcast. Okay. And then I just decided one day I'd try myself, because it's something different and cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Also, what I've noticed about making videos is a lot of the time I'm doing it by myself. Like with skate videos, I basically just need someone to film me. With the reviewing, I just set up the tripod and I start talking. But it's cool to do a video with a podcast. You're doing with something and you're interacting and it's socializing. That kind of stuff's cool.
Yeah, I like this better than interviewing over the phone or anything. It's nice to see when people actually interact and you're having a conversation, not just talking to someone on the phone or a screen or something like that.
How many interviews have you done?
This is my first podcast, to be honest, but
yes,
obviously,
first.
Yeah, my first. Obviously, interviews with the MMA, I used to do one, just a couple before every fight, all the newspapers and stuff. I always wanted to get a little bit of a story and a journalist. So yeah, and I've done quite a few of those. Not so much for the stunts. Every now and again, they'll do a little bit of a behind the scenes type interview with you as well. So yeah, you kind of do get used to it, but it's been a while since I've been, because obviously last year I was out injured and this year has been just useless for the film industry.
No one's interviewed me yet.
Really? Well, must actually, I don't know anyone that has interviews, but...
It's weird to be the guy, hey, come interview me. It's weird to ask for yourself.
Yeah, well, maybe one day you'll actually get someone that also does podcast. I think in South Africa there's not a lot of people that's doing what you're doing, so it's...
Not that I'm aware of.
It'll probably build up as we go.
Big in America.
Very big in America, yeah. There's so many of them out there.
Joe, Mike Tyson has his own one.
Yeah, well, if you think about Joe Rogan, every guest that comes on, he's like, yeah, you should start your own podcast. So a lot of them do.
Yeah, it's taking over radio.
Yeah, it's much more interesting than radio. So
well, radio stations have some of your rules, like you only play these type of songs. You have to talk about the news, the traffic.
Yeah, you can't talk about anything real. They're not allowed to.
It's interesting.
Podcast, you can talk about anything you want to, so it's cool.
True. That is what's cool about podcasting. You can just talk whatever you feel like.
Yeah, very nice.
Cool. Thanks for doing this.
Cool. My pleasure.
It was nice chatting and learning more.
Maybe we can do a sequel in a couple of months.
Yeah, once you've done more stunts.
For sure.
Sick.
Nice, Dante. That was good.